Hello, friends. This is Dr. John WorldPeace JD, the independent maverick candidate for President 2028, coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, the land of the atomic bomb, ETs, and the land of enchantment. I'm the only advocate for Jesus Christ, John 14:26. I've never been challenged on this since I changed my name on Good Friday, 1988, 37 years ago. I'm the only global advocate for peace and world peace in the world human society since Gandhi was assassinated on my mother's birthday, January 30, 1948, and I was born 3 months later on April 24th, 1948. I'll be 77 in a couple of days. Gandhi was a lawyer and a political prisoner, and I have also been those things. My metric is peace and world peace and peace on earth. My metric is not the earth god money and never has been. My career was insurance, accounting, tax law, and web design. Not a preacher or anything else. The text of this commentary is below this video. On Easter Sunday, April 20th, 2025, 7 days from now, America will be judged by God. Then after that, God's judgment of America and Zion and the Gaza Holocaust will be made obvious on God's time. Any day after that, God could act. The title of this commentary is Impeach Donald Trump Now. As I write, it is 2:43 a.m., New Mexico, Palm Sunday, 2025. As I have posted almost daily, I'm the independent maverick candidate for President 2028. I declared as soon as Trump was reelected in 24. I ran for governor of Texas in 2002 and have been an independent candidate for president in 2016, 2020, 24, and 28. From my website at johnworldpeace.com, I am the most qualified candidate that has run since 2016. I reject violence on any level, especially with regards to promoting peace, because peace can never successfully be initiated out of violent acts. That said, I'm also a patriot and served the USA in the U.S. Army 1970 to 72 as an infantry sergeant in Italy, unlike the yellow-bellied draft dodger Trump and his boy Elon Musk. My family has served the USA since French and Indian Wars prior to the American Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and all the wars of the USA. My 3 sons were Marines. My grandson was in the Army in Afghanistan. Trump considers veterans to be suckers and losers and has encouraged his sissy boys not to enter the military. I do not believe those who have not served their country should be allowed to run for president. Since it is Palm Sunday, this commentary on impeaching Donald Trump now is mostly focused on the fact that out of his own mouth he is an abomination to God and Jesus, based on his repeated cursing of the radical liberal left foundational message of Jesus Christ, Matthew 21:35, and also for his and Joe Biden's and Netanyahu's Holocaust in Gaza. America, as a supporter of a Holocaust, is a traitorous act to the Constitution. I have multiple peace websites, including a Christian website at King of Kings and LordofLords.com, listed with all my other websites on JohnWorldPeace.com. There's 43,000 pages on my JohnWorldPeace.com website. My life is an open book. Anything you want to know about me is on my website since 1998 when I set them up. I'm the only advocate for Jesus Christ, John 14:26, since I changed my name to John World Peace on Good Friday, 1988, 37 years ago. I've never been challenged on this statement of purpose by any corporate Christian preacher or priest. I've written extensively, 10 books on religion, mostly Christianity. I have 156 books published on Amazon. Elijah stated that he was the only remaining prophet of God. I'm not a prophet, but I am the only advocate for Jesus Christ. John 14:26. The most significant Christian books at this time are the Third Millennium Second Reformation of Christianity and the Life of Jesus Christ, an epic poem. In this book, I reorganized by categories the events of Jesus' life, and I eliminated the repetitiveness of the four Gospels. The point was to make the Gospels easier to understand and easier to read. As the advocate for Jesus, it is my mandate to bring to the remembrance of the world human society the teachings of Jesus from 2,000 years ago. The book of Revelation is a false and fake book of prophecy, a book where no one has ever identified the true author. Only the first 3 chapters of Revelation contain the red letter words of Jesus. That said, anyone who has studied prophecy has come to the conclusion that 10% of any prophecy will coincidentally manifest. The rest is indecipherable nonsense. So any psychic interpretation of the book of Revelation will come true for 10% of its content. And 10% of the interpretation, any interpretation, will come true, making about 1% of Revelation actually manifesting. Anyone who teaches a false book of Revelation is an abomination to God and Jesus. Jesus said, "No one knows the time of the end times, not the angels, not Jesus, only God, and those who try to interpret Revelation do so primarily to increase their personal income." Further, Jesus, after raising from the dead, stated that he would never leave. So to be waiting for Jesus to return is contrary to the red letter teachings of Jesus, because you cannot return when you never left. Jesus appears to all people all over the world every day. Jesus performs miracles every day and night. So he has continued to occupy earth in line with his promise not to leave. Jesus allegedly in the Gospel of John did so many miracles that all the books of the world could not hold them. That being said, when Pilate gave the Jews a choice to free Jesus or the criminal Barabbas, they chose Barabbas. In addition, when Jesus went to the cross, only a handful of women followed him, not even the disciples. Out of all the miracles Jesus performed, only a handful of women were at the cross. My position is that if any of those who Jesus performed a miracle for, if they were truly grateful, they would have been at the crucifixion and still been standing at the cross. That being the case, Jesus made a determination not to work his miracles in public but after the resurrection, but one-on-one in private for the most part. So any preacher who preaches the book of Revelation or curses the radical liberal message of Jesus, as Trump does, is a false preacher and should be avoided. All true Christians have a week until next Sunday to make the way of the Lord straight. On Easter Sunday, April 20, 2025, God will judge Trump and America. The radical fire and water destruction in the last few years of America plus COVID are a warning to those with eyes and those with ears. America and Trump will be judged Easter Sunday, but the punishment may be years in coming on God's timetable. As a candidate for president, I promote that all Jews with dual citizenships, U.S. and Israel, must declare a first loyalty to the United States or be deported. The Jews and the Muslims are both Semitic people by virtue of the fact that the Muslims are the progeny of the firstborn son of Abraham, Ishmael, and the Jews are the progeny of the secondborn son of Abraham, Isaac. The most radical, murderous anti-Semitics are the Zionists with regards to the American Zionist Holocaust in Gaza. Unless you are blind, you can see that American Zionist Holocaust in Gaza is more horrific than the Nazi Holocaust in hateful, merciless viciousness. The books of late great Planet Earth and Left Behind fictional series of books about the book of Revelation are fiction. The book of Revelation cannot be interpreted. Using a twisted interpretation of the book of Revelation to justify the American Zionist Holocaust in Gaza is religious insanity. Think about Jesus approving of the bombing and the murdering of Palestinians in Palestine since 1948 as what it is, an abomination to God and Jesus. The evil American Zionist Holocaust in Gaza is owned by every American through the acts of Joe Biden and Donald Trump going back to 1948 when Israel came into being by self-declaration and acknowledgement of President Harry Truman. Consider this, there are 2 billion Muslims and 2 billion Christians in the world, human society, and 17 million Jews. Use your logic. Who has God blessed? There's no question that God gave ancient Israel to the Jews, but he revoked that grant when the Jews crucified their Messiah, Jesus Christ. After the crucifixion in 73 CE, God allowed the Romans to raise Jerusalem and the Temple of Solomon and kill the last vestige of the Jews in Israel at Masada, and then disperse the Jews out of Israel and launch the Jewish diaspora. Further, in 600 CE, God raised up Muhammad, the progeny of Ishmael, and gave ancient Israel to the Muslims. And God allowed the building of the Dome of the Rock shrine on the Temple Mount on the exact site of Solomon's temple, and also allowed the Muslims the Al-Aqsa Mosque to be built on the Temple Mount. So for 1,400 years, the Muslims have had possession of what is now called Palestine. Between 1000 and 1250 CE, the Christians tried to take Jerusalem from the Muslims. God designated the Muslims to prevail and the Christians to fail. In the 1930s and 40s, God allowed the Nazis to execute 6 million Jews. These acts run contrary to the Jews claiming to be the chosen people of God after they crucified Jesus. In the 1780s, America became the chosen nation, people of God, and no nation has ever flourished as has America. It is the Americans who have been the chosen people of God, America is the premier nation in the world human society because it is the only melting pot nation in the world where all religions, all nationalities, all races, all genders live in peace. Not a perfect peace, but more than any other nation, an attempt to move toward a higher level of peace in the world human society. America elected Donald Trump to turn the clock back to the 1960s to destroy the foundation of America as a melting pot nation as opposed to a white racist nation. Trump has always been the great white hope of the American white racists. The foundation of America is in line with the radical liberal left message of Jesus to feed the hungry, heal the sick, shelter the homeless, or go to hell. Matthew 25:31. Donald Trump, since the day of his inauguration, has worked 24/7 to deconstruct America and disenfranchise non-whites, the old, the sick, and the homeless. No one can question that this is an abomination to God and Jesus. If Trump destroys the radical liberal left melting pot that is political America, then I can assure you that God will, through fire and water, abandon America as God abandoned Israel when they crucified Jesus. My book, The Third Millennium Second Reformation of Christianity, is the future of spiritual Christianity, and I have a template for spiritual Christianity churches. Is at my website, the Purple Order of Spiritual Christians.com. Let those who have eyes see and those who have ears hear. I have no peers as a peace advocate nor as a candidate for President USA. I have no organization, nothing to join, no members, no followers, no groupies. I live a minimalist life since 2007. After my second divorce, I'm one man with one message, elaborated on in my 43,000-page website at johnworldpeace.com. In his first term as president, Notre Dame in Paris almost burned to the ground between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday 2019, and also the COVID virus manifested in December 2019. My position is that Trump, in addition to being a convicted insurrectionist, is also, by definition, a traitor and anarchist to the American Constitution. I'm not a corporate Christian. Excuse me, I'm not a corporate Christian nationalist or Zionist. I'm a follower of the spiritual teachings of Jesus, who said his kingdom was not of this earth. I'm not a religionist of any stripe. I read the sacred scripts of all the major religions and the spiritual writers and philosophies of the world. My mantra is very simple. How can we increase the peace in the world human society if we don't include everyone, all races, all religions, all nationalities, all genders in our vision of peace? If we don't include everyone, as opposed to establishing elitist, exclusionary societies, we're not going to increase the level of peace in the world. This is John WorldPeace, Palm Sunday. Judgment comes in a week.